Good evening and welcome to Ownin the Evening. This is the Owndog alongside Alma,
Hello, hello.
and we are rip roaring.
You couldn't have timed that better.
And we are rip roaring and raring to go, as they say. And we'll just get things underway because Alma, you're still just a big kid. That's probably not how you wanted me to intro this.
You know,
But aren't we all? I'm a big kid. I like to play pranks. I enjoy my video games, but that doesn't make me a child. What makes me a child is my love of childlike things. I like playing pretend with my son. I like playing cars. I like playing pretend with my daughter. I like creating stories and imagining things. I'm very childlike. Sometimes they say we never really grow up. I still have a silly sense of humor. Alma, sometimes you're very childlike. You look no further than the fact that one of your favorite types of humor is poop humor.
you are absolutely right.
See, she doesn't deny it because it's not. Listen, toilet humor, you want to make Alma laugh, tell her a joke about the potty or any sort of toilet humor, you will get Alma's laugh for sure.
Yes, you will.
But beyond all of that, you wanted to talk tonight a little bit about tantrums.
I did. And I agree with you that we are childlike. And I was talking with my friend the other day about how we're all just kind of big kids in an adult playground, just kind of playing around. And that, we expect much of our children, but they're still just big kids. And tonight kind of showed that because our second oldest, she had a tantrum and, it was real, but we couldn't tell if it was real or if she was putting on a show. That was part of what was going on tonight, was that we couldn't tell if she was acting or if she was really having a moment. And so that was part of our problem in the moment. But, you know, her problem was she was really having trouble controlling her
Yeah.
emotions.
Mm.
And so I had an anger management moment where I was like emotional flooding. 25 minutes. We need a timer. Everybody needs to leave her alone and stop triggering her because she's only getting more and more upset. And I mean, even that, even just trying to leave her alone caused her to start tantruming. And it was like out of control. But in time, she calmed down because she realized that she was out of control. And we were able to talk and we came to a better place. But like, it just brings me to this realization that, this emotional flooding is real. And this tantruming thing can happen to any of us at any age.
Yes, it can. And it most certainly did tonight. Not to put too fine a point on it, but she was definitely out of control. And like you mentioned, my question immediately was, are you for real? Like, is this really a thing or are you putting on a show? Because either way, it's not good. We just have to know what we're dealing with here. If this is theatrics or if this is really some sort of emotional roller coaster that you're currently on. And the reasons are not really important, but they weren't the best reasons to be reacting in such a fashion. That's what I'll say. I can't say anybody's reasons are silly, far be it for me to be dismissive like that. But at the same time, my second daughter is known for making much out of nothing, mountains out of molehills. You know, she kind of blows situations up. And I think that's what she was doing here. And then she wasn't letting it go, she was making it worse. than playing a victim. And it was all the worst possible. Like, the greatest hits, imagine that in reverse. This was all the worst hits, like all the, of course, the terrible things you shouldn't say she was doing and saying.
It was, yeah, it was kind of surreal, like, to go through it with such an older child, because, like, I I kept thinking, like, is this really happening? And it was, and we were going through it, and it was kind of crazy, but you know, I felt for her because in the end, she said she was really going through it. And so ultimately, you got to take it for, because when you're emotionally flooded, you're not acting like yourself. And so, whether it's rational or irrational, you're out of control. And I've been that person that's been out of control and irrational. And so I feel for that person that can't control themselves and nobody wants to be around, because I was that person. And so, like, it's hard for me to just wash them away because they're difficult, you know?
Well, nobody wants to. I don't think anybody would encourage you to wash them away. And if they did, that's the wrong sort of encouragement. But let me ask you, when you were having those moments, why were you? What was the issue like with you?
When I was out of control
Yeah, like
and
when you were, you said that you empathize with her because you were that person. When you were that person, what was the problem?
I was carrying a lot of anger, I was carrying a lot of hate and rage, like very dark emotions in me. And so I needed to get those out, and nobody wanted to listen to those sides of me. And so I had no way to express myself in ways people wanted to hear. So, like, I was a raging kettle that nobody could simmer and just listen to. So it was a problem. So I was left to simmer alone and just get through my shit on my own because nobody could really take it. So that's where journaling became such a big thing, because I could get it out of me and I could process it and read it and hope that somebody on the internet might hear it and go through it and read it and take it in. And there was that hope that that void on the internet, someone might connect with me you know so that's where the writing was such a big, wonderful thing for me, and why I advocate for that for anybody going through that hard spot.
So, also at the time, you were bipolar.
Oh my gosh,
So,
heavily so.
and that's another, I mean, that's not another thing, that's the thing. You were bipolar. So, when you were having trouble, the same trouble that you empathize with daughter number two now, you were in a different place. So it's not really an apples to apples comparison where you were versus where she's at tonight throwing a tantrum, which could be her with her flair for the dramatic, or it could be something that's really deep seated and bothering her, but you never know with her.
You don't.
And really, that's the biggest problem, is you never know with her, because then you'll talk to her later and she'll say no, it wasn't that big of a deal, and so you can't ever tell. And she keeps emotions kind of close to her and then lets them simmer, as Alma said, and then has some sort of explosion or blows up in some fashion. And so maybe it's journaling, maybe it's something. There's got to be something that helps her with that process. Because for you, it was hard for you because you were bipolar. For her, tonight, I don't know. Where was her filter? Where was her stop point? There was none. She just kept going.
She really did. She was out of control. And That's where we've got to be there to give her the tools to calm down, which we did when we recognized she was out of control. We pulled back and stopped being the triggering agent for her.
Don't fool yourself. It wasn't until she wasn't going to be able to have her phone.
That's true. As
That's
soon
it.
as she wasn't going to be able to have her phone, she calmed the fuck
Yeah,
down. Ooh, my bad.
it wasn't any sort of thought or time spacing that you gave her. She was still going and going and going, and then she was told no phone and calmed down.
Yeah, that's when she calmed down.
So if there's not a lesson there, team, I don't know where you're going to find a lesson. But it's not lost on me. Time with strangers. You never know what someone's doing with their time. And you never know how much a moment's going to mean to another person. So, this is the topic intro from Alma. This is true. I oftentimes have talked about how when you remember your life is a series of moments. Just because you can't remember everything. I mean, if you're blessed and one of those people who can remember every moment of your life, that might be a blessing and a curse, but either way, congratulations. Most of us don't work that way. For most of us, life is remembered in a series of vignettes or moments as you play back the film of your life, right? And I'm always cognizant of that concept. And I remember back to my childhood, Alma, with my folks, right? Where
Right.
I've talked about stories and the moments that I remember. But I'm always trying to be cognizant of the moments I'm creating with other people, with Alma, with the children. And this is why a big deal for me, it's a big deal. If I'm going to play a game or something, I want to make sure I'm in the right mood, in the right mindset. I don't want to go in grumpy because then they're going to get game time with grumpy dad and they're not going to remember anything other than dad played games and he was grumpy. So I want good memories. I had good memories with my folks playing games, and you know, I didn't want, or I'm cognizant of the memories that I'm leaving or the moments that I'm building with the kids. When you have your time with strangers, though, you don't know what kind of day they're having. They don't know what kind of day you're having, Alma.
Right. And for me, that's where it's the most fun. Like you take those moments and you run with them. You try to make the moment the best you can and like connect with them and share your soul with a stranger in the moment you're crossing paths with them. Like going to the dentist with my son. He had a dentist appointment on Friday. And since we don't have a vehicle, we get insurance rides to the dentist through Lyft. So we got to meet two people going to the dentist and coming home from the dentist. And they were both wildly different conversations, one spiritual, one political, but like they they both were fulfilling conversations that left me sad to have to say goodbye when I was closing the door because, like, my moment with them was over and I didn't know if I'd ever see them again, which was likely I wouldn't. But, like, it was like, darn, I'm sorry I have to go. But, like, I'm so glad we had this moment to share. And it was just, it was powerful, it was meaningful, and like, it was awesome to get to share that with a stranger because, like, you don't know what kind of day they were having. You didn't really get to dive into that because the conversation you had was so powerful. It was just, it swept you away. And like, I like to do that with people because it just, it's awesome. And it it leaves an impact on you. And I love to get to do that.
I like when you talk about this stuff and get excited Like, it's fun to hear the enthusiasm and the passion in Alma's voice when she talks to you about things that she's excited about. If that doesn't make you excited about certain things, then I don't know what will. So, thank you, Alma, for sharing your stories. I do like making the most out of your moments with other people. I try to do similar things, you know, make a great day and make somebody else's day great as well.
That's exactly it. Sorry.
No, culmination.
Culmination.
Yeah.
So, with that said, that brings us into appreciation and appreciating your moments, right? Of course, appreciating your moments with family, with friends, with strangers, but appreciating almost what we have.
Ooh, that's a really good one. And our final topic. I was talking to a friend and he had kind of noticed a pattern of greed, which was really kind of hard for him to admit, but like he accepted it, that he was always chasing the more and was never okay with appreciating what he had. So, like, he was never ever happy just being with what he has. He was always after more. And so, even when he was offered something good, it was never enough. And that was the concept that he was lost or missing enough. He couldn't have enough. It always went after the more. And that's such a tragic thing, because if you truly recognize and appreciate what you have, eventually you fill up and you have enough and you don't need any more and you're happy and you can just be satiated and filled and overflowing with good blessings and good words that just make you feel happy. And that's why appreciating what you have is such a good thing to do, because it makes you recognize that the real things you have are good and whole and wholesome and enough to make you feel happy with. And that's why appreciation is a really good thing. Wrapping it up.
That was that's a heck of an ending there. I liked it. I liked the whole thing. Like, it's a hard one to follow. But you're right. As usual, Alma has hit its spot on. I wanted very much last time to talk about enough. And in this appreciation, well, we kind of touched on it. Alma's brought it in. She peeled back the onion. She mentioned enough. Your friend, he said it was a pattern of greed and chasing more. We all kind of get caught up in this. And in fact, I think you're heavily encouraged to do this, to buy things, to want to buy things, to be a consumer of things, whatever the product is, whatever the service is. We're conditioned to want to buy things. And that kind of leads us away from having enough. Oftentimes, we see people who are the exact opposite, where they've gone well past the concept of enough into unreasonable levels of collecting or hoarding. They've got TV shows about this, about hoarding. And yeah, those folks maybe somewhere along the line lost concept of enough, or just never registered to them to begin with. And I think if we're working towards a better version of ourselves, I think, for me at least, I don't want to tell you how to live, but for me, a better version of myself has learned how to function and operate with enough. And this has been a freeing lesson for me personally, because then you realize that all of these things that you thought were important probably really didn't matter so much anymore. All of the things that you felt that you just had to get or had to have or had to buy, well, maybe you didn't. Things like I can't get through my day without my morning whatever, Starbucks or whatever it is. Maybe you can. In fact, I would tell you that positively you could get through your day without your morning Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever it is you get. And I'm not telling you to stop any one of these things, because none of them are terrible. But if you learn to operate with enough, then you're working towards. I mean, you're on the right track. And I think that's where people again get lost. We are pushing and constantly trying to get the new thing. There's a new iPhone every year now, and you can trade up and get one. But I mean, we're always pushing new models of cars, new models of cell phones, new televisions, new technologies. And then there's all these services that you can get signed up for in this day and age that you just continue to pay for. Meanwhile, you've got a mortgage and a car and all of these things. Just slow
More,
down
more,
and learn.
more.
Go ahead.
It's always about the more.
The,
And there's always more to have to buy. And it always adds up to never be enough to feel good, because you're always fearing what more you have to buy. But like when you finally feel that concept of enough, sorry, I stole it from you.
no, you're fine.
But when you finally feel that concept of enough, it's like you said, it's very freeing, because you're not fearing the future anymore. You've moved into the present moment and you're enjoying it for what it is, because you're now appreciating what you have, which is very real and substantial. And you can enjoy it without having to worry about what's coming next to have to get to enjoy then.
Well, once if you can accept having enough, that maybe means not having as much as you would have liked or as much as you planned, but enough is enough. And that's where I said it's personal. But once you've centered on what's enough and you've taken enough, then you're left free to enjoy it, as opposed to this constant drive to get the more, where, you're going to work more so you take a bigger vacation, or you're going to put in extra hours so you can save towards, a new car or whatever it is you're trying to get at the time. And we're caught in this as well. We're trying to save towards getting a new car as well. So it happens to all of us, right? But when you can settle on enough, then you work toward having enough, and you don't have to work all this extra to get stuff that ultimately, like I said before, probably wasn't really that important in the first place. So it's a difficult doctrine to start to live by, because you have to let go of your inclination to want to get stuff. But the less that you get, the less that you're driven to go get, the more you're free to enjoy the things that you have. And I don't know. I think there's a balance there. And whether you call it work-life balance, whether you call it just balance in general, centering your chi, finding your feng shui, whatever the terminology is, none of that's probably accurate. But whatever you actually call it, strive for that balance. Obviously, we all have to have enough, so we have to work to get enough. But try to trim back and figure out what enough is for you. I think you'll find it's healthier and brings a better balance.
Balance is a good word, because it's a different level for everybody. Everybody's going to have their own level of needs, level of enjoyment, level of whatever. But as long as you can balance it in your life, then it's going to be good for you. And I think That's what we all should work for, balancing what we have to be enough. And then when we find we have enough, share what we don't need, because there's a lot of people out there who don't have enough and are get like scraping to get by with barely enough to get by. And it comes back to that sense of community love. Just sharing what you don't need. Sharing is caring. Helping those who don't have enough get by, and then just all coming together in love and support. That's my idealistic vision of tomorrow.
I like it. I like when you talk your elite, or not elite. What did I say?
It
What did
is
you say?
elite,
Not elite.
idealistic.
Idealistic. There we go. Your idealistic view of tomorrow. Maybe it's elite.
Yeah, it's elitist. There's only a few of us that believe in it.
Wow, I don't listen. I'm not getting behind it if it's elitist.
No, of course not. Anybody can believe in it. All it takes is some positivity and a little bit of light.
I know what you meant. You ain't got to convince me, sister. So, I mean, that's kind of a quick and dirty run through. But I think if you're, again, just to close that loop, if you're looking towards finding more balance in your life, work towards learning what enough is for you. And again, it's personal for every person. Some people need more to be comfortable and to be happy, and I'm not going to begrudge them. Just be honest with yourself. If you need it, if you've got to get the newest iPhone, okay, go get it. But if you're constantly working yourself overtime after overtime just to go paycheck to paycheck so you can get all of these new things, maybe you don't need all of those new things. And if it meant being better rested, healthier, or happier, would you make that trade?
I know I would. I rest when my bipolar lets me pretty comfortably.
Well, there you go. That was an ambiguous statement. I'm good with it. I rest sometimes. Okay. Well, that's not a ringing endorsement by any stretch, but hey, sometimes you just got to take what you can get. With that, I don't know.
That's Ownin Alma.
That's Ownin Alma. Mostly Alma right there. I don't want to necessarily throw my name behind that sort of philosophy.
That was just Alma talking.
Learning. What else? Alma, what else are you doing this evening? It is Saturday evening. You got big plans?
No.
Husband taking you out on a hot date?
Yes. He is shaking his head.
Who are you married to? Must be Kevin Nealon.
My star daddy.
I ain't taking you nowhere. I'll take you to the kitchen.
To make you a crunch wrap.
A chalupa? You always call them chalupas. First of all, I don't want a crunch wrap tonight. Second of all, why do you always call them chalupas? They're totally different. We're coming off the rails here again.
Yeah, we are.
But this is where we're going to pull the plug. And remind you that we do this live Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Kick.com and YouTube.com. Owndog Creates on either platform. Come on in, swing by, say hello, just like Diadems did over here in the Kick Chat. Good evening, my friend. And yeah, we'd love to see you. Podcasts drop at 11:30 on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So tonight, 11:30, you can scoop the podcast and relive all of the magic.
Magic. It was awesome.
The best hardcore fans come and watch the whole thing live and then listen to every minute of the podcast.
Those are the best.
I don't even do that.
Honest.
But that's it. Until the next time, make a great evening and make somebody else's evening great as well. For Alma, this is Owndog. We love ya. Alma, what else?
Tell somebody you love them.
I kind of butchered it tonight, so it was my bad. Alma nailed it. Tell somebody you love them. Keep owning the evening.